me? Hard luck. What a great day for the White and Williams families. The joining together of two wonderful people, two like minds, two kindred spirits, who, although birth has separated them by sea and country, have been brought together by immeasurable love and an undying passion for rugby. That would be Peter, Dave's dad, and myself. Just kidding, just kidding. Rugby is important, however. On this occasion, it's sidelined and eclipsed by the real match completed this morning, and we didn't even need extra time. The first wedding in both our families, a union, not rugby union, the best of Irish and English talent, an unbeatable team. Both Charyn and Dave have travelled vast distances across the space-time continuum, and of course, from the UK to get to this historic day. Now, Dave did make the mistake once, and I stress only once, of referring to the UK as the mainland. Yeah. He was promptly hung, drawn, and quartered by our good friend Breach. Everyone's looking stunning today, especially my little princess Charyn, the bride, Mrs. David Williams. As for myself, have you seen me from this side? What a beautiful service. The music was fabulous. I enjoyed every single bit of it. And Alistair was, as usual, brilliant self, injecting so much personality into the ancient institution that is the wedding ceremony. Interesting, that word institution. People do not want to live in an institution. People say marriage is an institution. Marriage is much more. I think, Charyn and Dave, and I want you to think of the time and effort you've put into this day and multiply it by a lifetime. Marriage is a long-haul flight leading to many exciting destinations. Usually we expect to end up where we plan to be. Sometimes this route needs to be changed. Turbulence and issues of baggage can deflect us from the true destination, and we deserve to reach in our married lives, and that is happiness and companionship. Turbulence and baggage issues can always be overcome, and if you look at Peter, Liz, myself, and my beautiful Veronica, without whom none of us here would be here today, you will see how, with an excess of 30 years marriage service under our belts, it can be done. And just also to mention Grandma and Grandpa at 86 and 88. They are over 60 years married. And an inspiration to us all. They really enjoyed the service, and sorry not to be here, but felt it would be a little overwhelming. Seriously, together, I know you two have a blend of fiery Celtic, tempered, and I use that word guardedly, with Saxon sensibility that will always overcome all. It's hard work. It takes patience, forgiveness, kindness, thoughtfulness, and Dave, sometimes we have to make sacrifices. Miss the match, skip the pub, and know when to shut up. Always offer, offer to help around the house. Brownies are the legal currency of marriage. Charyn, I'm sure you realise at this stage, men see things differently. Just accept this fact and happiness is guaranteed. Next, and very important, and an integral part to a successful family is forward planning. And with that, Dave, I want to talk to you about protection. Now, not exactly what you think. I know, Dave, you will always strive to protect my beautiful daughter from all the traditional dangers, financial, health, safety. However, what about your contingency plans? Say, in the case of an alien invasion, zombie attack, or indeed a resident serial killer. This is a true story. Last Christmas, we were eating in the front room in Brookfield. It was the real Jack the Ripper night, a pea super. Fog so thick, passing cars slow to a crawl, brake lights creating a eerie blood-red hue. It was just after Christmas and I was giving my liver a vacation, not even a glass of wine, sober as a judge. I sat watching the rest of them taking up the slack. Dinner was just over, and Dave, as he does, was waxing lyrical on some subject or other. For me, it was in one ear, out the other, up the wall. In one ear, out the other, up the wall, round the ceiling. Through the cobweb on the coving, and bang, it hit me. The night had that creepy feeling, it was conducive to mischief. So I left the room, I went upstairs, and I put on my Jason Friday the 13th Halloween mask. White face, black-eyed, black matted hair, and Jeff, you remember this particular mask.
I have seen that.
I crept out the back door and made my way to the dining room window and slowly pressed my face against the window. Dave was still waxing. Suddenly he looked up and saw me, let a scream, "What the?" and promptly dived under the table. The others had no idea what was going on until I came back in and managed to persuade Dave to get out from under the table. We promptly renamed him, and from now on he will always be known as Dive. Or Dive. Enough. What can I say about Dave? We love him, we love his protocols, his ability to make decisions and stick to them. Ask him our permission. Now, there's the thing. It took him a long time to get me into a suitable situation alone. Unfortunately, I was so intent on explaining my theory of time travel or some such item of global importance that the crucial moment passed. Eventually, on a visit to Brookfield, we were on a walk, and as Veronica and Charyn lingered in the Red Earth shop, the credit card graveyard, Dave collared me. "Colin, I have something to ask you," he nervously said. "Can I have Sharon's hand in marriage?" Yes. Yes, Dave, as long as you take the rest of her. His romantic proposal to Charyn followed the next day on the shores of Loch Oul, complete with bended knee and poem. Wow, this guy has class. All Veronica were worried about was what if she said, "No, not now, Dave. My hair isn't perfect, I'm not dressed for it. Sorry, I wasn't actually listening to you." However, it was a done deal. Now, Dave, we Irish have had a consistency bypass. We still maintain the famine mentality. Never expect anything we do to be the same the next time. And never invite an Irishman to a buffet. Protocol and etiquette are not high on our agenda. Laughter, music, sport and crack are much more important. In fact, people need to realise that alcohol was actually invented to stop the Irish ruling the world. In Spain, they say mañana, tomorrow, always tomorrow. We actually don't have a word to convey this sense of urgency. And Dave, I think you have learned this firsthand on your numerous visits to Brookfield. Charyn, we're very proud of you. You've given us very many days to be proud of you, and we always will be proud of you. Your swimming achievements, your academic achievements, your career, absolutely wonderful. We're terribly proud of you. We have had our moments. All are cherished. I didn't say forgotten, but cherished nonetheless. But look at you now, stunning, and we are so proud, and we do love you. I was thinking how I'd finish up, and Charyn, you will remember this incident. as do we. If Carlsberg did Scary Teenage Years, you would probably be their main feature. This probably was the scariest night I can remember, except for the dive experience. So I wrote this little poem. For those that don't know, in Gaelic that means a long time ago, a princess fair was delivered to us amid pomp and ceremony and lot of fuss. The first in her line with airs and graces, destined to travel to far off places. Quick to learn, to read and write, she could devour a book in a single night. Too clever by far and creative as well, she escaped from her castle as if by a spell. No sign of the doors left off their latches, the windows were locked, all with closed catches. A dummy, her teddy, was left in her bed with her fluorescent dental headset placed on its head. The alarm was raised. In the dark of the night, our princess was missing, oh what a plight. We searched for her consort, the Lady Ailish of Dun. And to our despair found she too was gone. The White Knight dispatched to search high and low. Where they had gone, we just did not know. At last they were found in Black Finion's wood, quite safe and sound, and all was now good. Her adventure was over, but she did protest, as the knight took her home and she wasn't impressed. And so it began and so it remained. Her search for her prince could not be contained. She travelled afar over sea, sky and land in search of the prince that could win her hand. A Sassenach prince, brave Dave the True, arrived in her life right out of the blue. The rest is history, filled with romance, each leading each other a fine merry dance. The moral of this story is hard to find. The past is the past, and the past is behind. The future, brave Dave, is there for the taking. Love is forever, all others forsaking. For richer, for poorer, for better, for worse. But always remember, we met her, we held her, and we loved her first. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and thanks for being here to celebrate this momentous day. So please be upstanding and charge your glasses for a toast to the bride and groom, Mrs. and Mr. David Williams.
The bride and groom.
The groom.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll start again. Thank you, Colin. Ladies and gentlemen, if you thought you'd seen the last of me crying in the chapel, I suspect you were wrong. So please bear with me for the next hour and a half or so. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my wife and I, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us on what is the most special day of our lives. We know for many of you, you've had to make some enormous sacrifices and cross continents to be here with us now, and it means the world to us. We've got people here from the States, we've got people here from New Zealand, from Switzerland, from Singapore. We've even let people in from Bolton. We've let people in from Wrexham. We've let people in from Brookfield. Well, they've all nodded off over there, actually. And we've even let some people in from Dublin too. Seeing you all here today is as good as it gets. A groom is often encouraged to thank everyone who has made a wedding special. And I'm grateful to my ushers Shane, Kieran and Tony for all of their... I cannot swear in front of Alistair. The shout. Right, we're there. Right, okay. We'll go with. I will start shouting. I'm very grateful to my ushers, Kieran, Shane and Tony, for all their help, but we're sure all of our suppliers will forgive me if I single out just one gentleman by name. Colin touched on it. Here on the table is Alistair. Alistair kindly agreed to conduct our wedding service. Yeah, no? Solid.
You were doing that without him.
Right, are we there?
Yeah.
Yeah, no?
Yeah. Speak.
Right, I'm just going to hold it here, and if it works, it works, and if you get deafened all of a sudden. Alistair kindly agreed to conduct our wedding service, having been a huge part of Charyn and her family's life since she was a little girl. It was so important, Alistair, to have you conduct our ceremony, and so important, as Colin suggested, that Arthur and June, Sharon's grandma and grandpa, were with us today. They know Alistair so well. Thank you for saying grace earlier and for making our service so special. Sharon's bridesmaids, gorgeous in what I understand to be a colour called heather, all deserve a mention. Congratulations to Claire here in front of me, whose beautiful baby Ben, Sharon's godson, was christened only last month. To Suzanne, whom I understand kept the hen party suitably inappropriate at all times, and who, by just being here with John today, has proven again what an amazing girl she is. To Jules, who has flown in from New Zealand to team up with her old Trinity, Trinners for Winners and Sinners pal this weekend. And of course to Sharon's sister Sophie here, who, ladies and gentlemen, is looking forward to her own wedding. We will do the toast now, so if you'll all raise your stand and raise your glass. It's not the end, I'm afraid. Join me in raising the glass to the bridesmaids. The There are, of course, some people who can't be with us today. I'm very grateful to Ed for his prayer at Trinity. I'm sorry I never got to meet my Welsh grandparents, and I'd have moved mountains to have my gran and granddad sit all here with me now. Like Arthur and June, Gran and Grandad gave me one of the best first-hand lessons in what marriage ought to be. Veronica's parents too, May and Paddy, would have enjoyed everything that today is all about. It's wonderful to see so many Slatteries out in force, as it is the Williamses representing Wales. I know too that Charyn misses her Uncle Billy. He was an amazing man who will no doubt be leading the party upstairs right now. Please clap. Before I talk about Charyn, I want to share with you how lucky we both are to have had two amazing sets of parents. Colin and Veronica first welcomed me into their home a good probably a bad 5 years ago. And the love for their family, Shane, Sophie and Charyn, has been a privilege to see. Theirs is a house of fun. It's a house of laughter and of an awful lot of food and wine. Charyn and I are so grateful for all you have done for us in recent years, and especially in recent weeks and months as we've lurched towards this day. Ron, I have never met a hostess like you, always sharing, always providing, always, always, always cooking. Colin, on the first day we met, you told me all about Charyn growing up, the smoking at boarding school, the boys, more boys, more boys. And you asked me to look after her. I assured you that I would. And today I made that promise in front of everyone here. She's as precious to me as I know she is to you two. And it's because of you two that I'm marrying a girl who is so full of love. Ron, we'd like to give you some flowers as a token of our love and our thanks to you for everything you do for us. Some words about my mum and dad. This will be tough. Put simply, they are and always have been my champions. For Mark and me, ours was a perfect childhood in every sense. Driving back from the rugby club on Saturday evenings, listening to cassettes of Paul Simon. Summers in the south of France, parties in Harwood, they were days from the gods. Sometimes it takes a few years, a mortgage, a few bumps and bruises to realise how much parents do. The thing is, Mum and Dad did it for everyone else as well. The entire parish, our wider family, all my mates, and they still do. Mike Dillon once told me in life, there are those who give, and there are those who take. All Mum and Dad have ever done is give. They've given their entire lives to other people. In their jobs as teachers for 70 odd years combined, the Scouts, Sunday school, working still at Bolton Hospice, church warden, church gardener. Every week, every year, they just get on with it. I can't think of two more amazing people than my mum and dad. Charyn and I are so lucky to have had you keep us on track. We'll miss getting your monthly card in the post, Mum. We'll count down to our wedding. Only 74 months to go. Mum, you make us laugh. You make everyone laugh. And Dad, you're my hero. It's as simple as that. Tough, Charyn. This is the bit of the day I have been looking forward to the most. I get to talk about my wife. My stunning wife, whom I'm sure you'll all agree, has somehow raised her own bar of beauty today. Charyn, I can't really believe how lucky I am. If I'm honest, I've never really been able to believe how lucky I am. As I fear my brother will shortly remind you, I can be a pig-headed nightmare at times. But you get me like nobody else gets me. You know what to do. You know when to reason, you know when to ignore, you know how to soothe, you know how to make me fall about laughing, and you know when to run to the wine bar and let it just all sweat out. You've got the kindest, sweetest heart in the world. And that's why every day I fall more in love with you than the previous day. Hearing you talk to your grandparents on Sunday nights, watching you with every pet you meet, listening to you singing in the shower, and just holding you when you're crying because someone has been unkind. You keep life beautifully simple and it overwhelms me. As well as this, ladies and gentlemen, I think, and I hope you don't mind me relishing this bit just at the moment, you are absolutely stunning. Especially today, as Charyn walked down the aisle, everyone got to see what I get to see every day, that smile that makes the world just a happier place. I asked you to marry me nearly 2 years ago on a frozen lake in Mullingar. It's been a wonderful journey with you from there to here, and I think the next part of the journey is going to be the best bit yet. I'm going to love you, care for you, laugh with you, cry with you, and head off into the rest of the world with you. That makes me, ladies and gentlemen, the luckiest bloke in the world. Finally, my brother. Bizarrely, he and I used to be similar. And then I bought some new hair. Do not be fooled by the accent. He's from Bolton too. But years of cloistered living in cathedrals and Cambridge colleges have muddled his memory something rotten. So if he starts telling implausible tales which bear no resemblance to me, just blame it on his organ. Mark, thank you for being a... Where are you? There you are. Thank you for being a brilliant best man so far. For managing to herd 26 feral cats on my stag do last month, and for being a wise older brother when you're not too busy with your organ. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again on behalf of Charyn and me for making today so very, very special. We hope you enjoy the rest of the evening, we hope you dance all night, we hope you come back tomorrow for more of the same, without the tears. And now, with more than a degree of anxiety, I'm going to hand you over to my brother, the best man.
When David asked me a couple of Christmases ago if I would be his best man, I was very flattered and touched, of course, and more than a little surprised. I thought, well, you know, he doesn't really like me. He's extremely... I'm slightly more patient than him. He's extremely rude to me all the time, and he's described me as boring and dull and, you know, rarefied. And I thought, you know, he has all these friends from school who actually like sport and things like that. Why would he ask me to do it? And then I thought, actually, and today has proved this in many ways, that there are two reasons, really. The first is that there's no human being to whom he's not related by blood who would endure the abuse that I endure. And secondly, I realised, of course, that I am in fact his role model. Most of his life trying to live up to the rather high bar I've set. And actually, I'd just like to elucidate a few ways in which he's failed catastrophically. For example, when we were young, I wanted to be a cathedral organist, and when I left university, I became organist at St Paul's Cathedral. When we were young, David wanted to be a bin man. I've met the Queen at St Paul's Cathedral. David has met Prince Harry at a urinal. I have travelled around the world, and my legacy is many international reviews and prizes as a recitalist, and David is still being sought by a taxi driver in Bulgaria. He wants debt. I was recently described in a newspaper in America as phenomenal. in a concert review. True. And David has been described on social media as a gammon-faced cockwomb. Wretched 5'2" diet for 3 months and lost a stone. David's done it for 2 years and lost half a pound. One of my ex-girlfriends has just been made the ambassador to Mongolia. One of David's ex-girlfriends is now a lesbian. He decided to focus on those things that I was not very good at, namely sport. He did do a bit of music, and he sang. He wasn't very good at it, but he realised that there was no chance of competing with me on the musical front, so he went for sport. And until very recently, I had thought that he was actually rather good at it. I thought he was quite good at football. You know, he was in the first 11, and they made it to the Independent Schools Football Association final against Lancing, and I thought that there must have been some talent. But apparently, the night before that match, Mr. Rigby, who was the football coach, asked the other team members to write down 2 key attributes of the other members of the team to kind of inspire them and to aid camaraderie. And David's were restricted to bendy and nice voice. But apparently the main problem was apparently that he lacked pace. Now, obviously, I have no idea what pace is. But I looked it up. It's to do with how fast you go. And apparently, David used to be lapped 3 times during fitness training sessions by other people. And so it's rather mysterious to me how he managed to get away with being the first 11. Apparently, he just cheated. He managed to do kind of standing on heels, accidentally tripping people up, that sort of thing, feigning injury, even once concussion and memory loss in order to get away with it. But that's how he gave the impression of being a good footballer, at least. So we find a rich scene here in his lying. His lack of pace was also a problem one evening on Magdalen Roundabout in Oxford when he and some friends, including my cousin Adam, were playing some sort of game involving a football where if you missed the middle of the roundabout you had to run around it without your trousers on. Childish, but anyway they did that, and of course the police came. The others all managed to make it to David's flat where he was living near Magdalen Roundabout in Oxford, except for David, who had to scale a drain pipe. And but here we see the charm that you've seen demonstrated. Managed to get him out. He told the plod that this was a perfectly normal way of getting into a flat, scaling a drain pipe without any trousers on, and he got away with it. So he's you can see that he's a bit of a charmer. I'm also told that his storytelling has been put before the general public. Did you know, for example, that millions of people were deceived by his whispering from the side of the 18th green at St Andrews, or his ecstatic description of the trackside atmosphere at the Arc in Paris? when in fact he was being interviewed by Ed from his front room in Shepherd's Bush. Well, back to the theme of emulation. I was the music scholar every day in school. I used to play the organ in Great Hall in front of everybody. I was basically worshipped wherever I went. How do you beat that? Well, he went for the big prize. School captain. Again. Until very recently, thanks to his friends, I had thought this was genuine achievement and hard work. But I have discovered that it's widely felt by other Boltonians that this was a result of bribery by the Peter Williams millions, and that he bought the post of school captain. Otherwise, how is it possible that somebody who had to make a public apology for setting fire to hotel dustbins and spraying deodorant on a Berlin geography field trip could be made school captain? How is it also possible that somebody who was caught mid-charge with a tea towel on his head in the Kabaddi Championship League match between the Bengali Warriors and the Jaipur Pink Panthers in the physics lab on C Corridor could possibly be made head boy? He was made to polish wood for 2 weeks for that. In school, wooden staircases. But the deception's not over. So I went to Trinity College, Cambridge, which is the biggest and richest college in Cambridge. It counts amongst its alumni Newton and Tennyson and Vaughan Williams and Wittgenstein. David went to the smallest and poorest college in Oxford. Amongst its alumni, it counts Al Murray, the pub landlord, who came 9th against Nigel Farage in the latest general election, and somebody called Richard Glynn, who was a pioneering chief executive of Labyrinth. Anyway, after a little bit of fiddling of A-level results, he did in fact get into Oxford. But how could he compete with his elder brother who got a first at Cambridge? How could he do that? Well, when he actually spent every night in the turf, how would that be possible? Well, astonishingly, he came up with rather a brilliant dissertation on hospital distribution in Kent. He studied geography. Absolutely pointless degree, and he wrote a dissertation on hospital distribution in Kent. It was awarded a first by his tutors at Oxford, and for those of you that are very keen to read it, you don't need to go to Oxford because it's available at the University of Kent. Because it was completely and utterly plagiarized. So far, not so good. Hard to live up to me. However, nature favoured him. He had flowing locks. He's very fond of his hair. He once got a speeding ticket. And when he asked for photographic evidence that this speeding ticket was in fact him driving the car, he paid up pretty quickly when it was revealed that he was in fact driving the car with his knees whilst running both his hands through his hair. You can imagine the horror when it started to fall out. Instead of embracing it like a real man, he had a new thatch installed. And whilst I have to say I do deplore the vanity of that, I do rather admire the commitment involved, because apparently one of the many side effects is crusty nipples. does have some redeeming qualities. As you will have heard, he is quite emotional. You probably all think he's absolutely charming after that speech. I have to say, he's been the most awful person. In the last few days, he's absolutely groomzilla. I mean, I've been sworn at. I mean, it's unbelievable. But however, there are redeeming features. It's difficult to think of them, which is why I haven't written this bit down, because I was unmoved. To say the least, for the last 5 days, whilst I've been composing this, I couldn't think of any way in which to be nice about him. However, he's quite emotional. He's very fiercely loyal, and to his friends and his family. He is, as you heard, devoted to his parents, and so much so that on one occasion in Beaconsfield, he thought my father was having a stroke, very tragically, and he told him he was his hero and how much he loved him, but unfortunately Dad was just pissed. But he is very loyal to his friends, and we are enormously grateful as a family that we have this new addition in the form of the extraordinarily beautiful Mrs. Williams. And I must say that although in every other aspect of his life he's failed to live up to his brother's achievements, he has beaten me on this one. Charyn is really the one person who makes David much more bearable than anyone else. And she makes him whole in a way nobody else could. And she endures him and encourages him, pampers him, deals with the toxicity of his bathroom visits. She's extraordinarily patient, and they are a wonderful couple, and we are very grateful to have you as our family. In our family, we are not one of those. I often hear my friends on the phone, you know, when they finish a phone call saying, love you. We're not one of those families who does that. But this is my chance to say rather publicly to my parents and to my brother and to my new sister-in-law that I love you. So I would like to say...